Okay, so I have finished cutting this one and I still have the template on the back. So I can actually remove that template now, and you can take the pieces of tape off. The outside panel should just tear away fairly easily because it's all perforated where you've stitched. Don't worry if you've got little bits that are kind of caught up in the corners. You can see there's a few bits that are caught. That's not a drama. It's not going to make any impact on your final work. Then once you've got the outside bit off, you should be able to fairly easily remove the inside parts. You don't need that anymore. You can't use these templates twice for good reason. So you will need to print them out again if you want to do them again. Right, and I'm just gonna pop that out of the way now because I want to show you how to cut the others, because once we've gone past the cutting stage, the rest of the process is exactly the same regardless of which design you use. So there you go, you can kind of see how it looks pretty cool, doesn't it? So I'm putting that away, and I've got some different faux leather, and we are going to do the aceso. Now there are two versions of the aceso. There's the nail biting one and the not so nail biting one, and the difference is the gaps between the areas of design are much wider on this one than they are on this one. So if you've never done reverse applique before, if you're not sure about how well you can cut or how easy you're going to find it to top stitch, bear in mind that these are the gaps on the harder one are just 1/8 of an inch apart, so you are going to have to be able to top stitch very accurately. So just to prove that it can be done, I'm going to do it for you. So we're going to start the same process again, but we're working on the right side of the fabric this time. So we're doing that line that's 1 inch from the bottom. We're doing the line 6 1/4 inches from the side to find our center. This one we're not stitching until after we've done the cutting. That's the difference. I'll tell you what I am going to do though. I'm going to just trim off the top of the design as well, so that I can tape it on the top. Using me. Got a new cushion on my seat and it's not very comfy. So position your template. And secure it. I wouldn't use adhesive spray on the right side of your faux leather, because you'll get gummy on the front of your faux leather, and that's not pleasant. Right, now for this design, I will use a small acrylic ruler, because whilst I'm happy to cut curves freehand, straight lines do need something a little more. So I'm going to start with the curved bit at the bottom, and it's exactly the same process as you've already done. So we're just cutting on the line, and I try and keep the blade in the faux leather and just swivel the faux leather round so that I get a continuous line of cut rather than jagged cuts on the curves. I have actually got one of the turning cutting mats, but I don't like doing this. I don't like using the craft knife on it because I don't want to ruin it, so I tend to use the craft knife on my little old cheapo one. When you get back to the beginning, you can literally pull those out. Again, keep those pieces. I'm going to do this bit. Even the cutting of this one is quite hairy because these pieces are so close together. You're leaving very small gaps between the holes. Oh, my presser foot's in the way. That's not good. So that's one curve. If you want to use a hole punch or the things that you smack down to get the circles out, you can do, or you can cut them with a craft knife, whichever suits you. Craft knife is not quite as accurate. You tend to find that it look a little bit scrappy, or just leave them off. I do sometimes. I have done. So that's the paper coming out. Once the paper's coming out, in theory, you should be able to take out the faux leather beneath it. And again, I've got some fibres there just in the corners that just need to be snipped. It's not the faux leather as such, it's the fibres that are on the back that just don't like to come away sometimes, so I'm going to keep that bit as well. Right, and now we're on to these long straight pieces. So I will literally use a straight edge put my blade in at the top, come all the way down to the bottom, and then I'll do those top and bottom shorter straight edges freehand. It's a personal preference. If you want to use the ruler for those, you can. Let's just get the fibres. So you can either use your snips or you can just use the very tip of your blade to cut those fibres if you've got some. Some faux leather is better than others with regard to this with the fibres. It depends what it's got on the back. Again, keep those pieces. These bottom corners of these pieces are the ones that always get me with the fibres, so you just have to be really patient. Don't yank it though, because you'll stretch the faux leather. You need to have just one cut, you don't need a sawing action, so none of this backwards and forwards. Just one confident cut, and then you'll get nice straight edges. There's nowhere to hide with this. If you don't do it well, it just looks awful. So doing it really slowly is definitely the way forwards. And I've managed to tear my template on that side, but that's fine because that's one I've already cut out, and I always seem to tear my template. It's just, I don't know where my other little snips are. seem to have lost my nice ones. Don't know what I've put them. Oh, that'll be the ones. But you can see where we're going, so we're just going to keep going like that. So I'm just going to keep cutting, and I'll come back to you once we've got all of the cuts done, and I'll show you where we go from there.